Let's talk now about referencing web pages. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that there is a lot of rubbish on the internet, but you'll also find some really good sources. So you might want to reference a web page of a company, a university, research institute, somebody with particular experience in the topic that you're interested in. But do be cautious. Think about why the information has been published, who has published it, and what their experience and qualifications might be. But if you want to reference a web page, let's talk through how to do it. So when we reference a web page, we are referencing a specific page, not a whole website. So if you use information from different web pages within the same site, then each of these should actually have their own full reference in your reference list. There are some occasions when you might want to reference a website's homepage, but usually it will be referring to specific information on a particular page. Some web pages have named people as authors, and some might just have an organisation name. That's fine as well. You can use the organisation as the author. So here's an example with the details that you need. Here we've got the URL, the web address, the name of the organisation, which in this case is Oxford Brookes University, the title of the page, which is on note making, and the date that this content was published. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute because it can be tricky. Here's the example InText Citation, where you've got the organisation name as the author, followed by the year that the content was published. In the reference list, you've got those details again, and then the title of the page that you're looking at. That's followed by standard text for online resources, which is available at. Then you have the URL, and then in brackets at the end, you have the access date. So this is the date that you looked at this website. The reason that we include that is because the content of web pages can change. So the web page might disappear. It might move within the website. There could be changes to the content from one month, week or year to the next. So this is a way of saying on that date when I looked at this website, this is what it said. A few tips for web page referencing. I mentioned that it might be difficult to find a publication date on a web page, to find the year that that information was published. You can look down to the very bottom of the page and look for a copyright date. And it's possible to use that if you believe that it's accurate. So sometimes you might get long forgotten pages on a website that haven't been updated in years, even though the website copyright date is this year. But usually websites that are well maintained will have current information on them, in which case the copyright date is likely to be accurate. So use your judgment a little bit there. If you're not sure, or if you can't find a date, you can write the words no date. Do be cautious about that, because if you don't know what date something was published, then you don't know how up to date the information is. So that's the point where you might want to compare it to other sources to see if it still seems to be accurate. Remember to also include the date that you accessed the page right at the end of the reference after the URL. There is cite them right guidance for different situations with web pages, so individual authors, organisation authors, web pages with no dates, and a few other situations. So have a look at Cite Them Right for that guidance.